The ecological footprint. An ecological footprint is the area required for a person that provides resources and also waste absorption. Why is it an important measure of worth sustainability? The ecological footprint is a way to measure how much nature we need to support our lifestyle. It calculates the area of productive land and water needed to produce the resources we use and to get rid of the waste we create. Think of it like an environmental bank account where we withdraw resources and deposit waste. Ideally, each person would have 2.1 hectares of this productive area to live sustainably. This number is like a global average that helps us understand if we are using more than our fair share of Earth's resources. The idea is that there is only so much land and ocean that can be used for growing food, raising animals, harvesting timber, and supporting our cities and towns. Plus, we need to leave some space for wild plants and animals to thrive. At least 12% of the world's natural areas, according to experts. But with the current global population, there is actually less than 2.1 hectares available for each person. This means we need to be careful about how much of nature's resources we use, so we don't run out of resources and harm the planet's health and our future. In the table, it shows the ecological footprint and available ecological capacity in hectares of the world and selected nations. The concept of the ecological footprint helps us understand the environmental demands we place on our planet. It's a comparison between the natural resources we consume and the waste we generate versus the Earth's ability to replenish those resources and absorb the waste. The balance between these two is crucial for sustainability. For instance, on average, the world's ecological footprint is about 2.7 hectares per person, but the Earth can only offer 2.1 hectares per person in biological capacity. This mismatch means we are using more than the planet can sustainably provide by 0.6 hectares per person. This overuse varies widely among countries. For example, in Bangladesh, the footprint is 0.6 hectares per person, but the capacity is only 0.3, leading to a 0.3 hectare deficit. In contrast, Brazil has a 4.9 hectare surplus with a footprint of 2.4 hectares and a capacity of 7.3 hectares per person. Countries like Canada and New Zealand have significant ecological reserves, while others, including China, Germany, India, and the United States, face deficits, meaning they use more resources than their ecosystems can regenerate. This imbalance indicates that if everyone lived like the average citizens in these countries, we would need more Earth to be sustainable. The data also reveals that many nations are living beyond their ecological means, which is not sustainable if we aim for global resource sharing at current consumption levels. The environmental impact of our consumption doesn't stop at national borders. It affects the global ecosystem. Therefore, understanding and managing our ecological footprint is vital for the health of our planet and future generations. Globally, each person's ecological footprint averages at 2.7 hectares, but this exceeds what the Earth can sustainably provide by 0.6 hectares per person. To maintain ecological balance, we must either reduce our population or lessen our environmental impact. This could mean sharing resources more fairly and adopting greener practices and technologies, particularly in developed nations that use more than their fair share of global resources. As the world's population nears 10 billion, the available productive land per person could drop to just 1 hectare, intensifying the need for equitable and sustainable solutions. In the United States, the ecological capacity stands at 5 hectares per person. Yet the footprint is nearly double at 9.4 hectares, creating a deficit of 4.4 hectares per person. China, on the other hand, has a much smaller ecological capacity of 0.9 hectares per person and a footprint that matches it at 2.1 hectares. If China's vast population were to adopt the consumption patterns of the United States, the ecological deficit would be staggering. This raises an ethical question. Is it right for the citizens of developed countries to consume resources at unsustainable rates, potentially depriving less developed nations of the opportunity for future growth? Ecological footprint deficit means the deficit will increase by time. An ecological footprint deficit can have a damaging effect on productive lands. When we fail to absorb waste sustainably, it leads to the loss of resources that could have been used for production. This loss, in turn, exacerbates the ecological footprint deficit. It is a cycle where the inability to manage waste properly not only depletes the resources we have, but also increases the demand for them. This is because as we lose productive land, we need even more land to compensate for the loss and meet our needs. The consequences of this deficit are significant. Habitats are destroyed, species are lost, and carbon accumulates in the atmosphere. The more we exceed our ecological limits, the more we strain our planet's ability to recover. This strain is not just a local issue, it has global implications. For example, when a region's demand for goods and services outstrips what its ecosystem can regenerate, it leads to a biocapacity deficit. This means the region must rely on importing resources, depleting its own ecological assets through practices like overfishing or deforestation, or emitting more carbon dioxide than the area can absorb. Addressing the ecological footprint deficit is crucial. It requires a global effort to reduce consumption, manage waste more effectively, and invest in technologies that can help us live within our ecological means. By doing so, we can protect our productive lands and ensure a sustainable future for all. Globalization in the wrong path. The lessons from ancient civilizations about living harmoniously with the environment are invaluable. These societies had a profound understanding of the delicate balance between their needs and the natural world. They practiced agriculture and resources management in ways that often enhanced their surroundings rather than depleted them. However, the current global trend is a stark contrast to these practices. Developed countries set an example of excessive natural resource consumption, leading to a path of unsustainable globalization. As we embrace globalization, we are adopting practices that prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability. This approach has led to increased consumption and waste, putting immense pressure on our planet's resources. The United Nations reports that if we continue on this trajectory, global natural resources consumption could rise by 60% by 2060 compared to 2020 levels, with dire consequences for biodiversity, water stress, climate change, and air pollution. To redirect our path toward a more sustainable future, we must integrate the wisdom of the past with the innovations of the present. This means rethinking how we use resources, transitioning to greener technologies, and adopting policies that promote responsible consumption. By doing so, we can forge a globalization process that respects the environment and ensures the well-being of future generations. It's not just about learning from old civilization, it's about applying that knowledge to create a sustainable modern world. The developed world will feel the impact too. As nations worldwide strive to emulate the lifestyle of developed countries, the strain on natural resources intensifies. This pursuit of a higher standard of living often leads to increased consumption and waste, which in turn places a heavier burden on the environment. The repercussions of this trend are not limited to developing nations. They ripple back to the developed world as well. The citizens of affluent countries who are deeply entrenched in their ways of living may find it challenging to adapt to the changes necessitated by resource scarcity. This growing demand for resources can lead to various environmental issues, such as deforestation, water scarcity, and the depletion of fossil fuels, which can have a direct impact on the quality of life in developed nations. Moreover, the environmental degradation resulting from overconsumption can contribute to climate change, affecting everyone globally. The impact of these environmental challenges can also lead to social unrest. As resources become scarcer, competition for what remains can increase, potentially leading to conflicts within and between nations. In developed countries, where populations are accustomed to abundance and convenience, the reality of having to reduce consumption or face shortages can be particularly jarring. This discomfort can manifest as social unrest, and people express their dissatisfaction with the changing status quo. The situation calls for a collective re-evaluation of consumption patterns and a shift towards more sustainable practices. It is crucial for both developed and developing nations to work together to find a balance that allows for economic growth and improved standards of living without compromising the planet's health and future generations' well-being. The challenge lies in making these adjustments in a way that is equitable and just, ensuring that all have access to the resources they need while preserving the environment. Immigration is from low to high ecological footprint regions. Immigration often flows from regions with a low ecological footprint to those with a high ecological footprint. This movement is driven by the search for better living conditions and opportunities, which are perceived to be greater in more developed areas. As a result, there is a population surge from areas where the environmental impact of each person is relatively small to regions where the impact is significantly larger. This trend has implications for both the regions people live and those they move to. In areas with low ecological footprint, the departure of residents can lead to a decrease in local economic activity, but it may also ease the pressure on the environment. Conversely, the influx of people into high ecological footprint regions can strain already limited resources, increase pollution, and exacerbate environmental problems. The challenge is to manage this migration in a way that supports human development while maintaining ecological balance. It's essential to create sustainable living conditions globally so that the quality of life improvements can be enjoyed without overburdening the planet. This requires international cooperation, investment in green technologies, and policies that encourages sustainable development across all regions. In conclusion, the ecological footprint serves as a critical measure of the environmental impact of human activities. It highlights the urgent need for sustainable living practices as the global population grows and aspiration for development rises. The current trend of increased consumption in developed countries and the desire of developing nations to follow suit is unsustainable and could lead to ecological deficits, resource depletion, and social unrest. The migration from regions with low ecological footprint to those with high ones further complicates the issue. It can exacerbate environmental strain in areas already facing resource challenges. This underscores the importance of creating sustainable conditions worldwide to prevent the overuse of our planet's resources. To address these challenges, a collective effort is required. We must learn from the past, embrace green technologies, and implement policies that promote responsible consumption and equitable resource distribution. Only by working together can we ensure a balanced relationship with our environment and secure a sustainable future for all. The path forward is clear. We must strive for a globalization that is not only inclusive but also respectful of the ecological limits of our Earth.